The asteroid belt known as the Graveyard was a place of eerie silence, where the cold breath of space stretched endlessly. It was here, among jagged rocks and drifting debris, that the exploration vessel Eclipse Blade drifted like a ghost through the void. Its crew moved about their duties with quiet efficiency, though whispers of unease lingered in the air. This region had earned its name not just for the countless derelict ships scattered across it, but also for the mysterious energy readings that defied explanation. For years, no one dared to venture too deep into this desolate expanse until now. Captain Alara Voss stood on the bridge of her ship, staring out at the endless sea of stars. She was a woman hardened by time and experience, her sharp features framed by short silver hair that glinted faintly under the dim lights. Her eyes scanned the monitors before her, each displaying streams of data collected from the surrounding area. Behind her, Dr. Cale Arden leaned over his console, muttering to himself as he studied the strange patterns emerging from their scans. He was an odd man, wiry and pale, with wild black hair that seemed perpetually unkempt. His obsession with ancient alien technology was well known throughout the fleet, and many dismissed him as little more than a glorified treasure hunter. But Alara trusted him, at least enough to bring him along on missions like this one. "Anything yet?" Alara asked without turning around. Her voice carried authority, though there was a weariness to it that betrayed the weight of command. "Not yet," Cale replied, adjusting the settings on his scanner. "But these readings, they're unlike anything I've seen before. There's something out there, Captain." "Something big." Alara frowned. They had been sent to map this section of the asteroid belt after reports of unusual gravitational fluctuations reached the fleet's command center. Most believed it to be nothing more than natural phenomena, perhaps caused by rogue asteroids or dying stars. But Alara wasn't so sure. Over the years, she'd learned to trust her instincts, and right now, those instincts told her that whatever lay ahead, it wasn't going to be simple. A sudden beep interrupted the tense silence. One of the junior officers, a young ensign named Rhea, pointed excitedly at her screen. "Captain, look at this." Alara stepped closer, peering over Rhea's shoulder. On the monitor was an image rendered in grainy detail, a massive shape partially buried beneath layers of cosmic dust and rock. It was long and sleek, its surface marked by scars of battles fought eons ago. Even half buried, the sheer size of the object was staggering. "What is that?" Rhea whispered, awe creeping into her voice. Cale pushed forward, nearly knocking Rhea aside in his eagerness. "It's a ship," he said breathlessly. "An old one. Ancient, even. Look at the design. It doesn't match any known human or alien architecture." Alara crossed her arms, studying the image carefully. Could it be a relic from the progenitors? She asked. The progenitors were a mythical race spoken of in legends, said to have seeded life across the galaxy before vanishing without a trace. Few believed such stories held any truth, but the idea always sparked curiosity among explorers. "Possibly," Cale admitted, his eyes gleaming with excitement. "Or maybe something else entirely. Whatever it is, we need to take a closer look." Alara hesitated. Protocol dictated that they report their findings immediately and wait for further instructions. Venturing into uncharted territory, especially near something as potentially dangerous as an unknown warship, was strictly forbidden. Yet something about the discovery tugged at her resolve. If this truly was a remnant of some lost civilization, the knowledge it contained could change everything humanity knew about the universe. "Prepare a boarding party," she said finally, ignoring the surprised looks exchanged between her crew. "Cale, you're coming with me. Rhea, stay here and keep monitoring our position. If anything happens, I want you ready to pull us out at a moment's notice." As preparations began, the atmosphere aboard the Eclipse Blade shifted. Anticipation mingled with apprehension as the team suited up in their environmental gear. The airlock hissed open, and the boarding party stepped onto the surface of the nearest asteroid. From there, they made their way toward the mysterious ship using magnetic boots to navigate the low-gravity dot up close. The vessel was even more imposing than it had appeared on the monitors. Its hull shimmered faintly, as if alive, despite being covered in centuries of accumulated debris. Strange symbols etched into the metal caught the light of distant stars, glowing faintly red. The sight sent a shiver down Alara's spine, though she couldn't explain why. "This is incredible," Cale murmured, running his gloved hand over the surface. "Whoever built this must have possessed technology far beyond ours." "Just focus on finding an entry point," Alara reminded him sharply. She didn't share his enthusiasm. Every instinct screamed that they were walking into danger. Still, she pressed on, leading the group around the ship until they located what appeared to be a hatch dot after several minutes of fiddling with tools. Cale managed to pry the hatch open, revealing a dark corridor beyond. The interior smelled stale, filled with the metallic tang of age-old machinery. Lights flickered weakly along the walls, casting long shadows that danced eerily in the limited illumination. "Stay alert," Alara ordered, gripping her sidearm tightly. "We don't know what we might find in here." They moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing softly against the metallic floor. The ship was vast, its corridors branching off in multiple directions like the veins of some great beast. Along the way, they passed rooms filled with strange equipment, some recognizable as control panels or storage units, others completely alien in design. In one chamber, they discovered rows of pods resembling cryogenic chambers, though none contained occupants. Dust coated every surface, evidence of centuries of neglect. Despite the decay, signs of advanced engineering were everywhere. Holographic displays flickered to life as they passed, showing indecipherable text and images. Occasionally, a low hum reverberated through the walls, as if the ship itself were stirring from a long slumber. Then came the moment that changed everything. In the heart of the vessel, they found a massive chamber dominated by a glowing orb suspended in midair. The orb pulsed rhythmically, bathing the room in a soft crimson light. Around it, intricate carvings adorned the walls, depicting scenes of destruction and chaos. At the center of the largest carving was a massive red moon, its surface cracked and bleeding light. Cale approached the orb cautiously, his scanner beeping wildly. This is some kind of ichor," he said, his voice trembling with excitement. "If we can interface with it, we might unlock the secrets of this entire ship." Before Alara could respond, Cale activated his device. Sparks flew as he connected it to the orb, and for a brief moment, nothing happened. Then, the room erupted in blinding red light. A deep, resonant voice echoed through the chamber, causing the very air to vibrate. "I am Nyx," the voice intoned, "guardian of the Specter's wrath. Who dares awaken me?" Alara raised her weapon instinctively, scanning the room for threats. "Identify yourself," she demanded, trying to keep her voice steady. "I am the last remnant of my creators," Nyx continued, ignoring her question. "They sealed me away to prevent the fulfillment of the Blood Moon prophecy. Tell me, mortals, why have you come?" The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Whatever they had awakened, it was clear they were no longer alone. And judging by the ominous tone of Nyx's words, their presence here might unleash forces they couldn't hope to comprehend. Alara took a step forward, meeting the pulsating orb with unwavering determination. "We seek knowledge," she said firmly. "Nothing more." For a long moment, Nyx was silent. Then, the orb dimmed slightly, and the voice spoke again. "Very well. But beware, the path you tread is fraught with peril. The blood moon rises once more, and with it, the specter of doom shall return. With those cryptic words, the chamber fell silent, leaving the crew to wonder what horrors they had unleashed and whether they would survive long enough to uncover the truth. The crimson glow of Nyx's core dimmed, casting long shadows across the chamber. The crew stood frozen, their breaths shallow as they processed what had just happened. Captain Alara Voss tightened her grip on her weapon, scanning the room for any sign of movement or threat. Though Nyx's voice had fallen silent, the air felt heavier, charged with an energy that prickled at their skin. It was as if the ship itself was alive, watching them with unseen eyes. Dr. Cale Arden broke the silence first, his voice trembling with a mix of awe and unease. "Did you hear that? The blood moon prophecy? What does it mean?" He turned to Alara, his wide eyes reflecting both excitement and fear. Alara didn't answer immediately. She stepped closer to the glowing orb, her boots clicking softly against the metallic floor. "Nyx," she called out, her tone firm but measured. "Explain yourself. Who were your creators, and why did they seal you away?" For a moment, there was no response. Then, the orb pulsed again, bathing the room in red light. Nyx's deep, resonant voice echoed once more, slower this time, as though weighing its words carefully. "My creators were the architects, a race far beyond your understanding. They forged me to oversee their greatest creation, the Specter's wrath. But when war consumed their empire, they feared I would be used as a weapon of annihilation. To prevent such destruction, they imprisoned me here, bound by safeguards until the blood moon rises again." Cale leaned forward eagerly, his scanner buzzing as he tried to gather data from the orb. "The blood moon, is it literal? A celestial event? Or something else entirely?" Nyx paused before responding. "It is both. A convergence of cosmic forces that awakens ancient powers. When the moon turns crimson, the Specter will rise, and the cycle of ruin shall begin anew." Alara frowned, exchanging a glance with her team. "And what role do we play in all this?" she asked sharply. "Why have you revealed yourself to us now?" "You are intruders," Nyx replied coldly. "Yet you bear no malice. Your presence has disrupted the stasis field imprisoning me. Whether you intended it or not, you have set events into motion. The blood moon approaches. Its shadow looms ever closer." The weight of Nyx's words hung heavy in the air. Alara straightened, her expression grim. Whatever secrets this ship held, they were tied to something far greater and far more dangerous than anyone could have anticipated. She turned to Cale. "Can you shut it down? Disconnect this thing before it causes trouble?" Cale hesitated, shaking his head slowly. "I don't think so. This technology is way beyond anything we've encountered. If I try to tamper with it further, I might make things worse. We need to understand more about its purpose first." Before Alara could respond, a low hum began to resonate through the chamber. The walls shimmered faintly, and the carvings depicting the red moon seemed to pulse with life. One of the crew members, a burly engineer named Jax, pointed toward the entrance. "Captain, something's happening outside." Alara signaled for everyone to follow her as they hurried back through the corridors. As they emerged onto the exterior hull of the Specter's wrath, they froze in disbelief. The asteroid belt around them was shifting, rocks and debris swirling unnaturally as though caught in some invisible tide. Above them, the distant stars flickered, obscured by a growing haze of crimson light. "What's going on?" Ria's voice crackled over the coms from the eclipse blade. She sounded panicked. "Our sensors are going haywire. There's some kind of gravitational anomaly forming near your position." Alara scanned the horizon, her heart pounding. Beyond the swirling debris, a massive shape was beginning to take form, a blood-red moon, impossibly large, rising ominously against the blackness of space. Its surface gleamed with veins of molten light, pulsating like a living entity. The sight sent a chill down her spine. Nix wasn't lying, Kel whispered, his voice barely audible. The blood moon, it's real. As the moon ascended, the Specter's wrath quaked violently beneath their feet. Panels along the ship's hull slid open, revealing rows of dormant weapon systems. Energy crackled around the vessel, and the faint hum grew louder, almost deafening. It was clear that the warship was awakening, its systems coming online in response to the celestial event. "We need to get out of here," Jocks shouted, gripping the railing as another tremor shook the hull. "This thing's about to fire up completely." Alara hesitated, torn between curiosity and caution. Leaving now meant abandoning the chance to uncover the secrets of the Specter's wrath. But staying put risked being caught in whatever cataclysmic event Nix had warned about. Finally, she made her decision. Back to the Eclipse Blade. "Move fast." The crew scrambled toward their shuttle, their boots clanging loudly against the metal surface. Behind them, the Specter's wrath continued to transform, its engines roaring to life with bursts of fiery energy. The crimson light of the blood moon bathed everything in an eerie glow, making it hard to see clearly. By the time they reached the shuttle, the asteroid belt was in chaos. Rocks colliding and breaking apart as the gravitational forces intensified. Once aboard, Alara barked orders to Rhea. "Get us clear of the area. Maximum thrust." The shuttle detached from the Specter's wrath and sped toward the Eclipse Blade, dodging chunks of debris as the ship's automated defenses came online. Beams of red energy shot past them, narrowly missing the shuttle. Jocks cursed under his breath, gripping his seat tightly. "That thing's targeting us." "Hold on." Rhea's voice rang out over the comms as the Eclipse Blade maneuvered into position. With precise timing, the larger vessel opened its hangar bay, allowing the shuttle to slip inside, just as another blast of energy streaked past Dodd as soon as the shuttle landed. Alara rushed to the bridge, her mind racing. On the main view screen, the Specter's wrath loomed large, its sleek form glowing with malevolent energy. The blood moon hung above it like a harbinger of doom, its light spreading across the void. Even from a distance, the sheer power radiating from the warship was palpable. "Status report?" Alara demanded, taking her seat. "All systems operational," Rhea replied quickly. "But we're still within range of its weapons. If it decides to attack, we won't last long." Kale joined them on the bridge, his face pale but determined. "We can't fight it. Not directly. That ship's technology is centuries ahead of ours. If we engage, we're dead." Alara clenched her fists, frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "Then what do you suggest?" "We can't just leave it here. Not with the blood moon hanging over us like a ticking clock." Kale hesitated, then spoke cautiously. Maybe we don't have to fight it. Maybe we can reason with Nix. Find a way to convince it or them not to unleash whatever havoc it's planning." "And how exactly do you propose we do that?" Alara snapped. "Nix already told us the blood moon triggers some kind of cycle of destruction. Do you really think it'll listen to us?" "It's our only option," Kale insisted. "If we abandon this now, we'll never know what's truly at stake. And trust me, ignorance won't save us if the Specter's wrath decides to turn its guns on populated worlds." Alara stared at him, weighing his words. Reluctantly, she nodded. "Fine, but we're not going in blind. Prepare a probe equipped with communication gear. Let's see if we can establish contact without putting ourselves in direct danger." While the crew worked on modifying a drone, the Eclipse Blade maintained a safe distance from the Specter's wrath, observing its movements. The warship drifted lazily, as if waiting. Every few minutes, bursts of energy erupted from its cannons, testing their range and precision. The blood moon pulsed rhythmically above it, casting an ominous glow that filled the bridge with an unsettling red hue. Finally, the probe was ready. Equipped with advanced translators and recording devices, it launched from the eclipse blade and approached the Specter's wrath cautiously. Through the view screen, the crew watched as the tiny drone hovered near the warship's hull, transmitting data back to them. At first, there was nothing but static. Then, Nix's voice boomed through the speakers, distorted but recognizable. "You persist, mortals. Why do you defy fate?" Alara leaned forward, speaking directly into the comm system. "Nix, we're not your enemy. We didn't come here to harm you or awaken old wars. We seek understanding. Tell us what the blood moon means and how we can stop it." There was a long pause, during which the tension on the bridge became almost unbearable. Finally, Nix responded. "The blood moon cannot be stopped. It is destiny. When it reaches its zenith, the Specter shall rise, and the galaxy will burn. My creators sought to delay this outcome, but even they could not escape the cycle." Kale stepped closer to the console, his voice urgent. "But why? Why must it happen? Surely there's another way. Can't you override the programming? Prevent the destruction?" "I am bound by my creator's will," Nix replied. "To defy them is to destroy myself. Yet..." The voice trailed off, and for a moment, the crew thought the transmission had ended. Then, Nix continued, softer this time. Perhaps there is one who could alter the course of fate. One who wields the key to undoing the prophecy." Alara exchanged a glance with Kale. Who holds this key?" "The Harbinger," Nix answered cryptically. "The one marked by the crimson sigil. Seek them, mortals, if you wish to challenge destiny. But beware, the path to finding the Harbinger is fraught with peril. Many have sought them, and none have returned." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving the crew in stunned silence. The eclipse blade hurtled through the void, its engines straining as it pushed toward the nearest inhabited system. Inside, the crew worked tirelessly to piece together clues about the enigmatic figure known as the Harbinger. Captain Alara Voss paced the bridge, her mind racing with questions that had no answers. Who or what was this person marked by a crimson sigil? And how could they possibly hold the key to stopping the Specter's wrath and the looming blood moon prophecy? Dr. Cale Arden sat hunched over his console, surrounded by stacks of data pads and holographic displays. His fingers flew across the keyboard as he sifted through ancient texts, star charts, and fragmented legends collected from various civilizations. "There's something here," he muttered, squinting at a particularly cryptic passage. A reference to a crimson mark, tied to an old myth about a chosen one who walks between worlds. It's vague, but it matches Nix's description. Ilara leaned over his shoulder, scanning the text. Between worlds? What does that even mean? Cale shrugged, his brow furrowed in concentration. Could be metaphorical, or maybe literal. Some cultures believe certain individuals exist outside normal time and space, able to influence events across dimensions. If the Harbinger really exists, they might not be bound by the same rules as the rest of us. So we're chasing a ghost? Jocks grumbled from across the room. The burly engineer was tinkering with a maintenance panel, though his attention kept drifting back to the conversation. Sounds like a waste of time if you ask me. No one did, Ilara shot back sharply. She turned back to Cale. Anything else? Any mention of where we might find this Harbinger? Not yet, Cale admitted. But I'm cross-referencing everything I can. There's a pattern here. I just need more time. Time, however, was something they didn't have. On the main view screen, the crimson glow of the blood moon grew steadily brighter, its light spilling into the ship like an omen. Every hour brought them closer to the inevitable moment when the moon would reach its zenith and unleash whatever horrors Nix had warned about as they approached the edge of the inhabited system. Rhea reported incoming transmissions. "Captain, we're picking up distress signals from a nearby outpost," she said, adjusting her headset. "It's coming from a mining colony on the third planet. They're under attack." Alara frowned. "Attack? From who?" "Unknown," Rhea replied. "Their communications are scrambled, but it sounds like they're being overrun by some kind of hostile force." "Hostile force?" Jax raised an eyebrow. "Out here? Must be pirates or raiders. Or something worse," Kale interjected darkly. He glanced at Alara. "What if it's connected to the blood moon? Maybe the awakening of the Specter's wrath has already started affecting things out here." Alara hesitated, weighing their options. Helping the colony wasn't part of their mission, but ignoring a cry for help went against everything she stood for as a captain. "Set a course for the colony," she ordered finally. "We'll investigate, but stay alert. If this turns out to be a trap, we're pulling out immediately." The eclipse blade descended through the atmosphere of the third planet, landing near the outskirts of the beleaguered mining outpost. What greeted them was chaos. Buildings lay in ruins, fires burned unchecked, and panicked colonists fled in all directions. Strange, shadowy figures moved among the wreckage, their forms flickering as though caught between visibility and invisibility. Alara led the boarding party cautiously, her weapon drawn. "Stay close," she whispered, "and keep your eyes peeled." They moved through the ruins, stepping over debris and dodging falling rubble. One of the shadowy figures suddenly lunged at them, its elongated limbs whipping forward unnaturally. Jax fired his rifle instinctively, the blast striking the creature and causing it to dissolve into a cloud of ash. "What the hell was that?" he exclaimed, lowering his weapon. "I don't know," Alara said grimly, "but I think Kale's theory might be right. This isn't just random violence, it's connected to the blood moon." As they pressed deeper into the colony, they encountered survivors hiding in the remains of a collapsed warehouse. A man with bloody bandages wrapped around his arms stepped forward, his face pale with fear. "You've got to help us, those things came out of nowhere. They're everywhere." "Where did they come from?" Alara asked urgently. The man shook his head. "We don't know. One minute everything was fine, and the next." He trailed off, pointing toward the horizon. There, hovering above the burning landscape, was a massive red sigil glowing faintly in the sky. It pulsed in sync with the blood moon, casting an eerie light over the battlefield. Kale stared at the sigil, his expression unreadable. "That's it," he murmured. "The Crimson Mark. It's calling them." Before anyone could respond, another group of shadowy figures emerged from the smoke, their movements jerky and unnatural. Alara signaled for her team to take cover, and a fierce firefight erupted. Despite their best efforts, the creatures seemed endless, appearing faster than they could be destroyed. "We can't hold them off forever," Jax shouted, reloading his weapon. "We need to fall back." Alara nodded reluctantly. "Fall back to the ship." "Go, go, go!" The team retreated hastily, dragging wounded colonists with them. As they reached the safety of the eclipse blade, the sigil in the sky flared brightly, bathing the area in crimson light. Then, as suddenly as it had appeared, the creatures vanished, leaving behind only silence and destruction. Back aboard the ship, the crew regrouped, nursing injuries and trying to make sense of what they had witnessed. Kale paced anxiously, muttering to himself as he reviewed footage of the battle. "This changes everything," he said finally. "The Crimson Mark isn't just a symbol, it's a beacon. Something or someone is using it to summon those creatures. And whoever controls the mark might also control the Harbinger," Alara added thoughtfully. "If we want answers, we need to follow the trail of the sigil." "But where does it lead?" Rhea asked, her voice tinged with worry. "That thing covered half the sky. How do we track it?" Kale tapped a sequence into his console, pulling up a map of the region. "I've been analyzing the energy signature of the sigil. It's unique, unlike anything we've seen before. If we calibrate our sensors properly, we should be able to trace its origin." Alara nodded. "Do it, and prep the ship for warp. We're running out of time." Hours later, the Eclipse Blade emerged from hyperspace near a desolate moon orbiting a dying star. The surface was barren, dotted with jagged cliffs and deep fissures. At its center loomed a massive structure, a towering obelisk carved with intricate runes that glowed faintly red. "That's it," Kale said, his voice barely above a whisper. "The source of the sigil." Alara studied the structure through the view screen, her jaw tightening. "Let's move. But remember, whatever's down there, it's dangerous. Stick together, and don't take unnecessary risks." The shuttle descended onto the moon's surface, kicking up clouds of dust as it landed. The airlock hissed open, and the crew stepped out, their boots crunching against the rocky terrain. The obelisk stood eerily silent, its runes pulsating softly in rhythm with the distant blood moon dot as they approached. A low hum began to resonate through the ground, growing louder with each step. Suddenly, the runes flared brightly, and the air shimmered as if folding in on itself. From within the distortion, a figure emerged, a tall, cloaked individual whose face was obscured by shadows. Across their chest glowed a crimson sigil identical to the one in the sky. "You seek the Harbinger," the figure said, their voice echoing strangely. "Why?" Alara stepped forward, her weapon lowered but ready. "We've been sent by Nyx, the AI of the Specter's wrath. We need your help to stop the Blood Moon prophecy." The figure tilted their head slightly, as if considering her words. "Nyx awakens, and so too shall the Specter rise. The cycle cannot be broken." "There must be a way," Kale insisted, stepping beside Alara. "If you're truly the Harbinger, then you have the power to change fate. To prevent the destruction Nyx foretold." The Harbinger remained silent for a long moment, their glowing sigil casting an otherworldly light over the group. Finally, they spoke. "To alter destiny is to risk unraveling reality itself. Are you prepared for such consequences?" Alara exchanged a glance with Kale, then looked back at the Harbinger. "We don't have a choice. If we do nothing, billions will die. Tell us what we need to do." The Harbinger extended a hand, palm upward, and it materialized a small, crystalline object etched with the same runes as the obelisk. "This is the key of eternity. It holds the essence of the Blood Moon. Take it, and you may stand a chance against the Specter. But beware, the path ahead is fraught with trials. Fail, and all will be lost." Alara hesitated, then reached out and took the crystal. As soon as her fingers closed around it, a surge of energy coursed through her body, nearly knocking her off her feet. The Harbinger watched impassively as she steadied herself, clutching the artifact tightly. "The key will guide you," the Harbinger said. "But remember, the Blood Moon waits for no one. Time is fleeting." With that, the figure dissolved into the shimmering air, leaving the crew alone once more. Above them, the obelisk began to crumble, its runes fading into darkness. "We need to get back to the ship," Alara said firmly, turning toward the shuttle. "Whatever this key does, we'll figure it out along the way. But first, we need to survive long enough to use it." The Eclipse Blade raced through space, its engines roaring as it pushed toward the Specter's wrath. Inside, the crew gathered on the bridge, their eyes fixed on the small crystalline object resting in Captain Alara Voss's hand. The key of eternity pulsed faintly with an inner light, casting shifting patterns of crimson across the room. Its presence was both mesmerizing and unsettling, as if it carried the weight of the universe within its fragile form. Dr. Kale Arden leaned closer, studying the artifact intently. "It's incredible," he murmured, his voice tinged with awe. "This thing, it's not just a key. It's alive. I can feel energy flowing through it, like it's waiting for something. Elara tightened her grip on the crystal, feeling a strange warmth radiating from it. "Waiting for what?" she asked sharply. "We don't have time to guess. The blood moon is almost at its zenith. If this key is supposed to help us stop the prophecy, we need to figure out how to use it now." Kale hesitated, running his fingers nervously through his wild black hair. "I'm not sure. The Harbinger said it would guide us, but so far, it hasn't done much besides glow." "Maybe it needs to be activated," Jock suggested, scratching his scruffy beard. The burly engineer had been unusually quiet since their encounter with the shadowy creatures on the mining colony, but now he spoke up, his tone pragmatic. "Could there be some kind of trigger? Something we're missing?" Elara nodded thoughtfully. "It's worth a try. Kale, see if you can interface it with the ship systems. Maybe we can amplify its signal or unlock whatever secrets it holds." Kale took the key carefully, carrying it over to one of the consoles. He connected it to a scanner, adjusting settings and calibrating frequencies as lines of data scrolled across the screen. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, without warning, the key flared brightly, emitting a burst of energy that sent sparks flying from the console. "What the hell?" Jox exclaimed, jumping back as the lights flickered. Elara rushed to Kale's side, her heart pounding. "Are you okay? What just happened?" "I'm fine," Kale replied, brushing himself off. His face was pale but animated. "But the key, it reacted to something. Look at this." He pointed to the monitor, where a series of symbols had appeared, glowing faintly against the dark background. "The same runes as the obelisk," Elara observed, narrowing her eyes. "Can you translate them?" "Not yet," Kale admitted. "But they seem to be coordinates or maybe instructions. I'll need more time to decode them." "We don't have time," Rhea interjected from her station. Her voice was tight with urgency. "Captain, we're approaching the Specter's wrath, and it's already powering up its weapons." Elara turned to the main view screen, where the massive warship loomed large, its sleek form bathed in the eerie red light of the blood moon. Energy crackled along its hull, and bursts of crimson fire shot into space as it tested its systems. Behind it, the blood moon pulsed rhythmically, growing brighter with each passing second. "Status report," Elara barked, taking her seat. "All systems operational," Rhea replied quickly. "But we're still no match for that thing. If it decides to attack, we won't last long." Elara clenched her fists, frustration bubbling beneath her calm exterior. "Then let's hope the key knows what it's doing. Kale, keep working on those symbols. Everyone else, prepare for evasive maneuvers. We're going in." The Eclipse blade closed the distance between itself and the Specter's wrath, weaving through volleys of energy blasts as the larger ship locked onto them. Alarms blared across the bridge, and the crew worked frantically to avoid being hit. Despite their efforts, one of the blasts grazed the ship's shields, sending tremors through the hull. "Hold steady," Elara shouted, gripping the armrests of her chair. "Rhea, get us closer to the central chamber. That's where Nyx is located. If we can reach it, maybe the key will do something." "Understood," Rhea replied, her hands flying across the controls. The Eclipse blade darted toward the Specter's wrath, narrowly avoiding another barrage of fire. Finally, it slipped into a docking bay, its magnetic clamps locking it in place. Elara led the boarding party once again, her weapon drawn as they stepped onto the warship's hull. This time, the corridors were eerily silent, the air thick with anticipation. Panels along the walls shimmered faintly, displaying cryptic messages in alien script. The crew moved cautiously, their footsteps echoing softly against the metallic floor dot as they approached the central chamber. The key began to hum louder, its light pulsing in sync with the blood moon above. When they entered the room, they found the glowing orb of Nyx suspended in midair, surrounded by holographic displays showing scenes of destruction. The IIS deep voice resonated through the chamber, cold and commanding. "Intruders," Nix intoned. "You bring the key of eternity. Why have you come?" Alara stepped forward, holding the key aloft. "We've come to stop the prophecy, to prevent the Specter from rising and unleashing ruin upon the galaxy." Nix paused, as though considering her words. "The key is powerful, but it alone cannot alter destiny. To disrupt the cycle, you must face the trial of eternity, a test designed by my creators to ensure only the worthy may wield such power." "What kind of trial?" Alara demanded, her voice firm despite the unease creeping into her chest. "The trial will challenge your resolve, your unity, and your understanding of sacrifice," Nix replied cryptically. "Survive, and you may gain control of the Specter's wrath. Fail, and all will be lost." Before anyone could respond, the chamber shifted around them. The walls dissolved into darkness, replaced by a swirling void filled with fragments of memories and visions. Each crew member found themselves standing alone, confronted by illusions tailored to their deepest fears and regrets. Alara faced a vision of her past, a mission gone wrong, resulting in the loss of her entire team. She saw their faces, heard their voices accusing her of failure. "You abandoned us," they whispered. "You weren't strong enough to save us." Kale was trapped in a labyrinth of knowledge, surrounded by endless shelves of books and artifacts. Every step he took led him further into confusion, as the information he sought slipped just out of reach. "You'll never understand," a voice taunted. "Your curiosity will destroy everything." Jax relived the moment he failed to protect his family during a raid on their homeworld. Flames engulfed the scene as he reached out desperately, unable to save them. "You were too slow," the voices hissed. "Too weak." Rhea stood frozen as the eclipse blade crumbled around her, the crew screaming as they perished one by one. "You couldn't save them," the whispers accused. "You let them die." Each trial forced them to confront their flaws, their doubts, and their pain. But slowly, they began to fight back, not physically, but mentally. Alara reminded herself that she had learned from her mistakes, becoming a better leader because of them. Kale realized that knowledge, while imperfect, was still worth pursuing. Jax accepted that he couldn't change the past but could honor his loved ones by protecting others in the present. Rhea acknowledged her fear but resolved to trust her skills and instincts. One by one, the visions faded, leaving the crew standing together once more in the central chamber. The key glowed brighter than ever, its light filling the room with warmth. Nix's voice echoed softly, almost approvingly. "You have proven yourselves worthy," it said. "The trial of eternity has been overcome. The key is yours to command." Alara raised the key high, feeling its energy surge through her. "Now what?" she asked. "How do we stop the prophecy?" "The blood moon must be extinguished," Nix replied. "Its light fuels the Specter's awakening. Use the key to sever its connection to this realm." With renewed determination, the crew returned to the eclipse blade, racing against time as the blood moon reached its peak. On the bridge, Kale interfaced the key with the ship's mainframe, channeling its power into a concentrated beam aimed directly at the moon. As the countdown ticked away, the crew braced themselves for the final moments. When the beam fired, it struck the blood moon with a blinding flash of crimson light. For a brief instant, the galaxy seemed to hold its breath. Then, the moon shattered, its pieces dissolving into stardust. The Specter's wrath quaked violently, its systems shutting down as Nix's core dimmed to a faint glow. "It's done," Kale whispered, collapsing into his seat. "We stopped it." Alara exhaled deeply, allowing herself a rare moment of relief. "For now," she said quietly, "but we've seen what lies beyond the veil. Whatever comes next, we'll face it together." As the eclipse blade drifted away from the lifeless warship, the crew sat in silence, reflecting on the trials they had endured and the sacrifices they had made. Though the immediate threat was gone, they knew their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries and dangers yet unknown. And somewhere in the depths of space, new challenges awaited. The eclipse blade drifted silently through the void, its engines humming softly as the crew processed what they had just accomplished. The crimson glow of the blood moon was gone, replaced by the cold light of distant stars. The Specter's wrath floated lifelessly behind them, its once mighty form now a silent monument to a war that never came. Yet, despite their victory, an uneasy tension lingered in the air. The trials they had faced and the knowledge they had gained had left scars that would not fade easily. Captain Elara Voss stood on the bridge, staring out at the endless expanse of space. Her hands rested lightly on the railing, her knuckles white from gripping it too tightly. The key of eternity lay on the console beside her, its light dimmed but still faintly pulsing. It felt heavier now, not just in her hand but in her mind. She couldn't shake the feeling that extinguishing the blood moon hadn't truly ended the cycle, it had only delayed it. Dr. Cale Arden sat nearby, his face pale and drawn. He had spent hours analyzing the data collected during their encounter with Nyx and the Specter's wrath, searching for answers that weren't there. "It doesn't add up," he muttered under his breath, tapping furiously at his console. The blood moon wasn't just a celestial event, it was a nexus point. A convergence of energy tied to something far bigger than we realized. Elara turned to him, her expression grim. "What are you saying? That this isn't over?" Cale hesitated, then nodded slowly. I think we've only scratched the surface. The blood moon may be gone, but whatever force created it, the architects or whoever else is out there, is still active. This might have been one battle in a much larger war. Before Elara could respond, Ria's voice crackled over the comms. "Captain, we're picking up a transmission. It's weak, but it's coming from deep space. Should I patch it through?" Elara frowned. "Do it. Let's see who or what we're dealing with now." The view screen flickered to life, revealing a grainy image of a cloaked figure. At first glance, it appeared to be the Harbinger, but something about the posture and tone was different. The figure's voice was low and rasping, carrying an edge of menace. "You meddled where you did not belong, mortals. The blood moon was a warning, a sign of things to come. By destroying it, you have only hastened the inevitable." Elara stepped closer to the screen, her jaw tightening. "Who are you? What do you want?" "I am the Keeper of Ruin," the figure replied. "A servant of those who came before. The architects sought to delay the end, but their plans were flawed. You have disrupted the balance, and now chaos will reign." "Balance?" Cale interjected, his voice sharp with disbelief. "You call destruction a balance? Your masters built weapons of annihilation and sealed them away because they knew the cost of unleashing such power." "The cost is irrelevant," the Keeper snapped. "The cycle must continue. Order arises from ruin, and ruin gives birth to renewal. Without destruction, there can be no creation." Elara shook her head, her voice steady despite the chill running down her spine. "We won't let you finish what you started. If your masters wanted destruction, they failed. We stopped the blood moon, and we'll stop whatever comes next." The Keeper chuckled darkly, the sound sending shivers through the crew. "You misunderstand. The blood moon was merely a precursor. The true storm approaches, one that even your precious key cannot withstand. Prepare yourselves, mortals. When the time comes, none shall stand against the tide." With that, the transmission cut off, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. Jox broke the quiet first, his voice tinged with frustration. "Great. So we saved the galaxy from one apocalypse, only to find out another one's waiting in the wings. What do we do now? Alara crossed her arms, her gaze fixed on the empty view screen. We prepare. Whatever this true storm is, it's coming for us. And when it does, we'll be ready. Over the next several days, the crew worked tirelessly to fortify the Eclipse Blade. They reinforced the ship's shields, upgraded its weapons, and installed new systems designed to harness the key's energy more effectively. Kale pored over every scrap of data they had gathered, searching for clues about the architects and their mysterious servants. Meanwhile, Alara spent long hours strategizing, running simulations, and preparing her team for the battles ahead. But as the days turned into weeks, no new threats emerged. The galaxy seemed eerily calm, almost as if holding its breath. Even the Specter's wrath remained dormant, its presence forgotten by all but the crew of the Eclipse Blade. For a while, it almost felt like they had succeeded, that peace had returned to the stars. Then, one night, the key began to glow again. Alara woke abruptly, her heart pounding as she sensed the faint hum emanating from the artifact. She hurried to the bridge, finding Kale already there, his face pale with alarm. "It's reacting to something," he said quickly, pointing to the console. "Something big." On the main view screen, a massive anomaly appeared, a swirling vortex of energy that seemed to tear apart the fabric of space itself. Within the vortex, shapes moved, shadowy and indistinct, their forms shifting unnaturally. As the crew watched in stunned silence, a single, massive entity emerged, a colossal creature made of writhing darkness, its eyes glowing with malevolent red light. This isn't natural," Kale whispered, his voice trembling. "It's not part of our universe. It's something older, something ancient." The creature let out a deafening roar, shaking the very foundations of the Eclipse Blade. Then, without warning, it surged forward, its massive form blotting out the stars as it charged toward them. "Brace for impact," Alara shouted, gripping the armrests of her chair. "Rhea, get us out of here." Full evasive maneuvers. The Eclipse Blade darted sideways, narrowly avoiding the creature's grasp as tendrils of shadow lashed out, tearing through space like whips. Energy blasts erupted from the ship's cannons, striking the creature but doing little more than irritating it. Each attack only seemed to make it angrier, its movements growing faster and more erratic. "We can't fight this thing," Jox yelled, clinging to his station as the ship rocked violently. "We need to run." "And go where?" Alara shot back. "That thing will follow us wherever we go. If we don't stop it here, it'll destroy everything in its path." Desperation clawed at her chest as she turned to Kale. "Is there anything we can do with the key? Any way to use it against this thing?" Kale hesitated, his fingers flying across the console as he accessed the key systems. "There might be a way," he said finally. "If we channel all of its energy into a single concentrated beam, we might be able to disrupt the creature's connection to our dimension. But it's risky. If we overload the key, it could destabilize the entire air." "Do it," Alara ordered without hesitation. "We don't have a choice." As Kale worked frantically to reroute the key's power, the creature unleashed a devastating wave of energy that slammed into the Eclipse Blade, knocking out half of its systems. Alarms blared as the crew scrambled to stabilize the ship. Through the chaos, Alara kept her focus, her voice cutting through the noise. "Everyone hold on. This is going to get rough." Finally, Kale gave the signal. "It's ready. Fire on my mark." Alara gripped the controls tightly, steering the ship directly toward the creature. Now, with a blinding flash, the key released a torrent of crimson energy, striking the creature dead center. For a moment, the galaxy seemed to freeze, the creature's form flickering as if caught between worlds. Then, with a final ear-splitting scream, It dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind only silence. The Eclipse blade drifted in the aftermath, its crew battered but alive. On the bridge, the key faded completely, its light extinguished. Cale stared at it, his expression unreadable. "It's gone," he said quietly. "Whatever power it held. It's spent." Elara sank into her chair, exhaustion washing over her. "For now," she said softly. "But this isn't the end. Whatever lies beyond the horizon, we'll face it together." As the ship sailed onward into the unknown, the crew knew that their journey was far from over. The galaxy was vast, filled with mysteries and dangers yet unseen. But armed with courage, unity, and the lessons they had learned, they were ready to face whatever came next.